trading is a profession. And so a lot of the results that you're going to get are going to come down to your perspective and how you approach the markets, right? These markets that you're looking at right here, this is just the how can I say this? The markets that you look at on TradingView is really just the surface level 10% of what is involved in the equation of making money, right? Whenever you guys think of a strategy, right? What that really means by having a strategy as a trader is by identifying just a pattern, or what I like to call a glitch. So a glitch can only be determined by consistent data. Okay. Now, fast forward a few years ago, whenever I was still gaining consistency within trading, um, I would be making, $1,000 a day on a scalping. And what really was like a pivotal moment for me was being around a professional trader. And I actually was in Florida, and I met this guy who I was actually like, he allowed me to watch him trade live. And he turned, I think it was like $3,000 or $5,000 into over seven figures. And I got to kind of watch how he operated. Now I wasn't bad, I was making money. Like, I had already been profitable, gotten payouts and things like that. But I had never seen someone who was at that level yet, and so being able to kind of watch how he executes. There's a few main focus points that really I took that really changed my trading forever. Now, the first one is it, understanding what trading really is. Trading is not a physical effort, right? Like I said before, it takes not a lot of effort in terms of sitting down and clicking a button. And so the real skill set of trading is 100% a mental skill. And it tests your mental skills. Now, there's two kinds of trading. The first one is 100% discretionary, and then there's automated trading with like AI, and including just an AI bot, right? Now, most people don't have access to, AI trading bots. Almost every single person in here is a discretionary trader, like manually executing, right? And so, whenever, let me just ask you guys this, all right? Comment in the chat if you guys would be able to explain to a 9-year old, a 10-year-old, just a child, exactly to the T what you're looking for. And you guys have a written down plan on exactly what you're looking for that you will execute on, and you know exactly the data and statistics of that actually playing out. Comment in the chat if you guys have that. And it's okay if not. That's why we're on this call right now, right? Someone there's a lot, so no, no, no. I'm getting a lot of no's. Someone said yes. So that is the greatest shift. That is the greatest thing that you first must develop, is knowing what you're looking for. And so whenever you take a trade, you don't take a trade because you feel like it's going to go up or down, right? You take a trade based off of the data that you have collected and what you have written down, right? And so not having any clarity on what to execute on and what to avoid, okay? And so this is the first thing I want you guys to write down is number one, understand that this is 100% a mental skill. Okay, this is not a physical skill, but it's a mental skill that you must develop. Okay, now the reason that that's important is because the only thing that you can really control is the decisions that you take whenever you're executing a trade, right? And so if the differentiation of you making money or not is based off of the quality of mental decisions that you make, then having a plan on exactly what qualifies that decision to be made being high quality, that will actually play out according to your system and the data that you've collected that will make money long term. Every single real professional trader is thinking in terms of long term, right? You have to be able to switch your focus to the day-to-day process to, if I execute based off of this glitch, right? Because in terms of the market, right, and breaking down what the market even is, essentially is number one, you need to know what you're trading, right? Okay, so in Q, specifically what I trade is a combination of the top 100 tech companies, right? But the top 7 companies within NQ is called the Mag 7. Okay? So trading the NQ is not just trading one company, right? You're trading basically a combination of Tesla, Nvidia, Google, Apple, all of these different tech companies in the US, and I can actually pull this up right here. Um, this is something that I made for my Sailor Ascension students, and this is the Mac 7 right here. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Google, Meta, Tesla. All of these companies are the top 7 companies within NQ, right? And so NQ and SPX are both correlated pairs, which means that if we look at what NQ is doing and then we look at what SPX is doing, they both move very similarly, very similar, you know? And the reason is because of the companies within NQ and SPX, okay? Now, the reason that is important is because there are two main drivers when determining the direction of NQ and SPX specifically. Now, not I don't know if all of you guys trade NQ or SPX like I do, but I've been trading NQ for the past like 5 years specifically. So whenever you're deciding to actually trade a market, it's very important to know specifically the companies within the market that you're trading, right? And so all of this comes down to developing a statistical edge within that market, right? Okay, so number one is if you can understand the economic releases, right, within the companies of NQ, you can understand the directional bias long term. Okay? So that is number one. Okay? Now, number two is the actual algorithmic systems that are controlling the market, right? And so there's a 3-step process on exactly what I look for on the day-to-day trades that I take, okay? So this is my community right here. We can see consistent wins, okay? If I just scroll up, you can see, and most of these people, I mean, every single person you see in here started off not knowing anything about the market, right? And so the market is a skill that you develop day after day. You know what I mean? It takes day after day implementation, right? But the biggest shift, the biggest thing that helped me was understanding that you have to approach this seriously, okay? The biggest problem that I faced with my psychology would just be not understanding that you have to approach this as a professional, right? Trading requires your focus, okay? Because this is a profession. This is a professional sport. This is like the equivalent of being like a NFL player, right? And so there's a process that you have to have planned out on how you're going to engage with the market, right? And so let's just see real quick, like comment down in the chat if you guys have written down a routine or a pre-market plan that you guys follow before you guys execute and trade. So like for an example, right? Before I trade, I have to wake up an hour before I trade, minimum. 1 hour before I trade. And then step 2 of my process is to go through the economic releases of the Mag 7. And for me personally, right, the greatest enemy to my trading or to anyone's trading is number 1, a lack of clarity. Number 2 is impulsiveness or indiscipline, right? And so tying this back to even scripture, right? The Bible says that, I think in Romans 7 that there is a war between the flesh and the spirit, right? And so if you have your edge written down, you have exactly what you're looking for written down, then the only thing that can interfere with that is by not following your plan, right? So who here on this live training has a pre-trading plan written down on exactly what you do before you trade? So let's actually build this out together. I don't want to just talk about it. I want to actually break this down and build one with you guys, okay? So number 1 is you need to find your glitch. Build a routine or build a plan, a pre-trade plan. And then number 2, build a post-trading plan. Okay? Now, the greatest misconception when it comes to trading is thinking that you need more information. That is the greatest problem that I see, is thinking that you need more information. The reality is that many of you don't need more information, right? Now, some of you do, okay? Some of you need to know exactly what you're looking for and exactly what qualifies on what to avoid, okay? Which I'm going to break down right after this, okay? But The greatest problem that I see and that even I struggled with, right? Let me just talk about my trading psychology uh problems that I have faced in the past as an example, right? It wasn't that I didn't know what to look for, it's just that the actual implementation and execution was what was difficult, right? And so number number one thing that is the most important is w- building and compounding wins before you execute a trade. Okay? So what that looks like is breaking your flesh before you trade. Doing something that's uncomfortable before you trade. Now, I don't want to just have a group of, people who just want to learn trade. Obviously, this is a trading group, right? That's why we're looking at the charts right now, right? But it's not about it's not about understanding a strategy, right? It's about becoming the the type of person who has the consistency and discipline to actually execute it. That is the number one thing that takes honestly years. Like, it takes years to develop that, right? And it's I was sitting down talking to someone about breaking your trading plan, and I was really trying to understand like why that happens. Like, it's one thing to not know what to look for, okay? That is why I wrote down you need to find your glitch. That's step number 1. You need to find exactly what to look for and then what to not look for. And not just what to execute on, but have qualifications of when not to execute. Okay, a good rule that I learned from a 7-figure professional trader, right, that I saw execute in person that changed everything for me was I remember seeing him one night he didn't sleep well. And so we woke up to trade the next morning and he said, I have a rule for myself that if I don't get enough sleep in the night, I don't wake up and trade the next morning. And I was shocked. I'm like, bro, you don't like you literally have written down if you don't get a good night's sleep, you're not going to wake up and trade the next day. But that is how specific you need to be whenever you're creating your pre-trading plan. Understanding when you don't have the mental capacity to execute, because many people, they don't know what to look for. That's his own problem that has to be addressed, right? But many people within my group, we can go through all of the wins, we can go through all of the um, learning content that I have put in here for people. It's not that you need more information. We live in an abundance of information. With AI, you can access unlimited information. So it's not information that you need. It is to be around someone who has already gone through the process of learning how to implement it and execute it daily. It's a daily thing. And so I was talking to someone and I was like, I broke my trading plan, and I was like, I was honestly kind of mad. Like, why? A lot of people are stuck in a cycle of breaking their trading plan. It's like you know exactly what to do, but yet it's hard to actually do it. And that has been my greatest struggle personally, is not having a clear framework of what to look for, but it's number one, just discipline. Honestly, it comes down to just discipline. And I can tell you to be disciplined, but the thing that actually helps is building the habit of implementing and executing the discipline daily. You know what I'm saying? So find your glitch, have a pre-trading plan, okay? Now, number two is it's not very difficult to make money trading, but do you have a plan on what to do after you take a win to avoid giving it back? That is a huge problem that I used to have and that I see, is that you don't understand that the chemicals within your brain that are produced whenever you win a trade is dopamine, and the same pleasure and pain senses that are literally produced whenever you're gambling, or like even whenever you're doing anything like scrolling, eating food. The chemical, the pleasure chemical in your brain is called dopamine. And so your nervous system, every time you win a trade, is getting that dopamine, that satisfaction, that chemical of pleasure. And so that is why it feels almost like addicting to continue trading after you take a win. Okay? Now, the best way to overcome that, as cliche as it sounds, even though trading is an individual process, is having people that you trade with. So everyone in here needs to develop a system of accountability, an accountability process where there are consequences if you don't follow your plan, but also you're trading with people who actually follow their plan. You know what I'm saying? And so there's really two ways that you can become you can start seeing rewards from trading. There's two ways that you can pay. You either pay to have proximity and be around someone who is actually doing it day to day, who has gone through the process that you're currently going through. Or you can pay with your own money from blowing accounts. You can pay with your own time of years, like years of watching YouTube videos and learning strategies, years of blowing accounts, continuing down the same cycle. How many, like, just be real, guys, like, how many of y'all are in a cycle of you've watched ICT, you've watched all of the gurus on the internet, and you may have written down exactly what to look for, what to execute on, but for some reason it's like hard to actually execute it. Comment in the chat if you struggle with that. Okay, so the first thing that you must do is start collecting data and in journaling. Okay, so a part of my post and pre-trading plan is that, number one, before I trade, I do something difficult, okay? So that means like even just going on a run, doing something physical. As surprising as it sounds, the best way to discipline your mind is by physical activity. It's not even by trying to make yourself, be more disciplined, but building an actual compound winning effect before you trade, right? Now, before you trade, write down what you're looking for. Write down what you're looking for, and also write down what you're not looking for. Okay. And then number 3, write down exactly how you want to execute today. Okay, now a part of your plan needs to be when you shouldn't trade. Okay, now a misconception that a lot of people have is that you're supposed to trade every single day. You're supposed to trade every single day of the year. But professional traders have seasons of trading, right? So kind of like, trading for a professional sport, training for trading is very similar. Okay, now when a professional athlete is about to perform a sport, right? What do they do before game day? Okay? What does a professional athlete do before game day? They warm up. Exactly. So, if you are a professional trader, why aren't you warming up before you trade? Why do you not have a pre-game day preparation, right? And just like a professional athlete, before they actually play, they have a warm up, they have a plan, they have a team, they have a coach. No athlete is just out there performing by themselves, right? As a professional trader, whenever you're in season, every day you execute is game day. So if you're not on point for game day, this is based off of your performance, right? Now, something that I'm developing, what a part of why I'm on here with all of you guys, is I'm actually developing AI systems to delegate um, a huge part of the decision making process within the trading. Okay, so we can go to the journal here, we log a session, and this is actually a part of the AI system I've developed that will help you, number one, track your performance, test your strategy based off of data, and number two, actually develop what you're looking for in journal day to day your trades. Now, yeah, so back to what I was saying. Every professional athlete warms up before game day. And so you have to come with that same perspective whenever you're trading. Okay? Now, since trading is 100% a mental sport, not people who do not have, okay, this is what I should say is, you should optimize for having mental stability. Okay? You cannot perform your best trading if you don't have mental stability. And part of having mental stability is having financial stability before you trade. Okay, funny enough, the less you focus on being greedy and making this about the money, and you focus on actually performing and following the day-to-day process, the easier it is to make money trading, right? Because this is not a one day thing, right? Whenever you are a professional trader, this is a day to day executionary thing. So when I was talking to the person I mentioned before, and when I was around a 7-figure trader and during my learning process, what I noticed is that there will never be a point that you arrive to where all of your psychology problems just automatically disappear, right? Uh, Funny enough, it's kind of like overcoming your flesh whenever you are learning to break sinful habits, right? A lot of that is very similar to trading. It's like it's not a one-time thing. It's a every single day you pick up your cross and you deny yourself. Every single day you have to build that build that internal, resistance against being impulsive to break the plan that you have, right? So whenever I was learning from a 7-figure trader, and it's actually crazy because for 5 years I was trading by myself and I was seeking information. On my 6th year, I had the opportunity to be around a 7-figure trader who was actually younger than me. I think he was like 22 years old. And the biggest takeaway, or one of the biggest takeaways, was how serious he took this. Now, every single day he was at his desk at the same time and he journaled before and after he traded. And so a lot of what I learned from him wasn't even about um, strategy. I didn't even ask him anything about strategy. I asked him about his discipline. I asked him about the actual plan and how just watching him execute. My biggest trading week was the week after I spent with him. And I made like 17K trading live the week after being with him and watching him. And it wasn't that I learned a special strategy. You know what I'm saying? He traded stocks. He didn't even trade the same thing I traded. It was just that I was in the atmosphere where I could observe his way of approaching it. You know what I mean? I was in that atmosphere. I saw what it looked like. And so it changed my whole mindset, honestly. Now, let's go a little bit into my 3 model delivery system on what I look for, okay? Now, from years of studying the markets, right? I've been trading for 7 years, okay? There's the markets are always evolving, okay? So the NQ like 5 years ago is completely different than NQ today. Um and so a strategy or a glitch that you're looking for within the market, you will constantly have to refine and change based off of, um, the numbers that you run. And something that I have for all of the students that I'm working with one-on-one is developing AI to actually have a statistical thing that's proven, right? A statistical glitch. So my glitch, it comes down to 3 simple models, okay? Now, the first thing that um, I'm going to show you guys is this indicator right here. So this indicator, Lux Algo ICT Killzones Toolkit, You guys can look this up on indicators. I can copy and paste this right here. I don't know if it's gonna let me, but you guys just go on TradingView, you guys click indicators, and then click Lux Algo ICT Kill Zones Toolkit. And these are my settings that I have right here. I just turn off fair value gaps, I turn off market structure shifts, and then I turn off order blocks right here. And then I turn off New York PM session and Asian session. So what I do basically with this indicator is it just marks the ranges of the previous sessions, okay? So London session right here, and then it shows the high in the bottom of that session, and then this is the morning session right here. So what I trade is the 9:30 open New York time, okay? And a part of my system that I look for is, what did the market do in the previous session, in London session? Okay, now the more you study the markets, the more you trade, the more you start to notice patterns, right? Patterns of delivery. And so let me break this down. That is the first thing, is you want to know what happened in the previous session, okay? Now, the reason that that is important is because London, let me actually do this right here. London high and London low, and then Asia high and Asia low are going to be major points of liquidity, okay? Now, liquidity just means money, okay? So the perspective of the 9:30 open is determined by what, number one, the first thing I do after I go on a walk, I pray, and I actually, do my routine before I trade. And if I don't do my routine before I trade, my trading is not good, okay? And so you have to know yourself, right? You have to know everyone has a different level of how impulsive they are. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the biggest problem, is being impulsive. Once you know exactly what to look for based off of your data, right? And you have clarity. So and this is one thing I would say, is that clarity in business and in trading comes from execution. You will only gain clarity within trading from executing, not from more information, okay? You don't need more information, you need help with execution of that information, right? Okay, so number one thing I look for is, where is London high, London low, okay? So a part of the AI system that I've built for my one-on-one Ascension clients is a weekly delivery template, okay? And that's important. That's very important on what I'm about to show you guys. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, did London high or London low get swept before the 9:30 open, okay? Now, we can see this is what I call manipulation plus expansion model, okay? This happens every single week, okay? Every single week. And I'm going to give you guys a full rundown from top to bottom what I do every single morning, okay? And then I'm going to go over the mentorship offer that I have and exactly how to have the details on that, okay? So, number one is there's 3 delivery models that I see happen every single week, okay? Now, the first thing is you need to know what you're trading, okay? You need to understand the companies and what you trade, okay? Now, I solved that problem by building this AI, okay? This AI has agents that go and collect the data of every single major company within NQ. So we can see right here pressure lower and pressure higher is calculated by the data within the top 7 companies of NQ. So for an example, NVIDIA, okay? NVIDIA is creating all of the AI GPUs for all AI systems. Okay, so NVIDIA is probably like going to be one of the biggest companies, right, in the world because they make all of the GPUs and actual like computing software for AI. So that's huge. And even whenever you see, news with Donald Trump, for example, why does that move the market, right? It's because it influences the companies within NQ. Okay, so understand what you're trading. Don't enter the market blindly. Okay, become very aware of yourself and know exactly where you are. Okay, now if you don't have a job and you're watching this, this is not for you right now. It's okay if you're watching and you want to learn and collect information, but the first thing that I would do if I wanted to become, a professional trader and start making payouts, which I can go back into here, we can go over the wins. I see literally every single day. Like we see payouts consistently. Now why is that? Is because the framework works. Now number one, we trade live every single day. So you're trading live every single day with professional traders, okay? And live trading starts on Monday. So it's Friday. So we're starting live trading again on Monday. And okay, number two, if you don't have a job, I don't recommend you trade. You need to get a job or start a business before you trade. Now, the reason why is because trading from scarcity is not a good way to trade, okay? You're going to lose your money. And so you want to have money coming in from somewhere else than trading before you trade. And that's going to help you a lot because you're not coming to the market trying to operate from emotions and scarcity of like, I need to make this one trade work, right? Because a part of having a professional trading system is allowing your glitch to play out over time, okay? And not being impulsive when it comes to execution, okay? So if you don't have money coming in, you don't have a job, then this is not for you. Go get a job and stack up some bread first and then start trading so you can have the right approach and the right mental stability, okay? I'm not gonna, even if you have 5 grand and you're like, Israel, I want to give you 5 grand and I want you to trade with me live every morning and I want to become a professional trader. If you don't have a job, if this is your last 5K, you don't have capital coming in, it doesn't matter because if you use that 5K, like trading it's a process. It's a process of having stability and consistency day to day, right? And so being stressed out will hinder the actual execution process, okay? Now, I'm developing an AI bot for my one-on-one clients, so that'll take a lot of the execution process away. But clarity comes from execution, not info, okay? So, number one, Back to the template, right? So there's 3 models that I look for, okay? This is a quick breakdown of what I'm looking for, okay? Number 1, and you guys don't want to miss this. This is going to be the most important part of the masterclass, okay? Number 1, and I'm going to wrap it up because I have to go actually very soon, but 1 hour time frame, okay? Number 1 is understanding the story. So after I do my morning routine and I run my AI systems to collect data on the companies and I understand the economic story behind, right? And I understand when there's news. Like for example, on Wednesday or on Thursday there was 8:30 PPI news. Okay? A lot of people don't even know what PPI news even is, right? Or where to even find that news because there's sources that show you that data before the news is released. Okay? So understand what that even is first. Okay? Then number 2 is I go to the 1 hour time frame and I mark something out called pivot points. Okay? And oops. I mark something out called pivot points. Okay? Now this, what I'm about to show you guys, has generated over $150,000 in verified payouts within my group. Just one person alone has made over 50 grand a week in payouts from Top Step. Okay? So this isn't just theory, right? This is actually working every single day. And I'm actually going to bring someone on who has been getting payouts consistently for the past year who will literally tell you for himself. Okay, but I go to the 1 hour time frame and then I mark out the recent high and low. Okay, so like for example, we go down to the 15-minute time frame and we can see that this is the 9:30 open. Okay, so what I do is I mark out this high and I mark out this low. This is just basic structure. Okay, what I'm basically doing, and then I drop down to the 15-minute. What I'm basically doing is like, okay, I can refine it to this low and to this high. What I'm doing here is basically I'm creating a range within price where if price breaks this high, it's most likely going to continue up. And if price breaks this structural low here, it's most likely going to pivot down lower. Now, I drop down to the 15-minute and then I drop down to the 5-minute. So when 9:30 opens, there's 3 things that's likely to happen. Okay, my 3 delivery framework. Okay, so the first thing I always ask myself is, what did price do according to London high and low? Okay, so did price take London high? No, it hadn't. But before 9:30 open, price swept a London low. Okay, now there's 3 things that I see happen predictably. Number 1 is straight sided delivery. Okay, straight sided delivery. Now, this happens whenever there's economic buildup before the 9:30 open. So usually before straight sided delivery, which usually happens on Thursdays within the market, usually on Thursdays or straight sided deliveries. Okay, straight-sided deliveries usually don't happen on Mondays unless there's an economic event, which is why you guys need my AI system that will track the economic events from the actual sources before they happen. But these usually don't happen on Mondays or Fridays. They usually happen like on Thursdays, okay? So straight-sided delivery is when the 9:30 opens and it straight goes into one direction. Okay, so we can see, you can see even this week, this is on a Thursday, okay? Now, you can see a little bit of a manipulation wick right here, the wick, and then, but for the most part, this is a one-sided delivery example right here on a Thursday, like I said, okay? Now, straight-sided delivery, usually you have to go down to the 1 minute time frame to get an entry on, okay? So that is one thing that can happen. The second thing that will happen at the 9:30 is manipulation plus expansion. So the pattern that I see happen is price will do a wick. It will most likely take a London high or low, or a point of recent liquidity on the 5 minute time frame. Okay? You see a wick and then you wait for the candle on the 5 minutes to come up after the wick and then to close. Okay? You wait for the second 5 minute candle, which is right here. You see the wick right here, okay? And then you see price go up and target a London high and Asia high right here. So it manipulates and then expands. Now my entry is as soon as it breaks the structural point right here and your stop loss is below here on the second candle, and you target a London high in Asia, okay? Now, the third day is search and destroy. This usually happens on Mondays and Wednesdays, okay? Mondays and Wednesdays from my data that I've collected. Search and destroys is when there is no clear bias, there's no manipulation wick and expansion. It just looks like a barcode, right? Now, why is the market doing this? The market is doing that because it is gathering money within the market, okay? And so the key here, guys, is that you have to approach every day asking yourself, okay, what delivery template is likely to happen today within the market, right? And that is a good framework to follow that I just went over now, okay? So let me see if Nikki is on here. Okay, Nikki.
What's up? What's up,
Okay, awesome. You're on. You can.
sir?
Here, let me stop sharing. Okay, everyone, this is Coach Nikki. So Nikki actually joined Sayla a year ago, and now he is inside of the Discord and as a coach as well, helping me train people one on one. And so I just honestly just want to ask you, Nikki, like, you have been making consistent payouts for I think like a year now, a little bit over a year.
Yep.
So what was the main thing that you implemented that really like shifted things for you, where you saw that consistency?
Yeah. So I would say if you want to see consistency in trading, one of the first things you have to do is, yes, you can have like the best psychology and everything, but you have to have a strategy and you have to refine it to your trading style. So the first step was refining a strategy that I was actually confident in and I saw consistent results. And then after that was honestly probably one of the hardest is just you versus you, like not over trading, not over leveraging, just being consistent and having the same win, same loss every single day, no matter what. That's like the biggest, that's honestly the breakthrough that I saw that really made me get those payouts.
Praise God. Praise God. There's actually, I want to read this. This right here, what I'm about to read, is going to change y'all's life. And this is what I love about Nikki is that he is a prime example of the power of compounding small wins, right? So like, can you kind of go over like how much you risk on each trade and like how that works out for you? Because what I've seen is like having a long-term vision is really important, right? So like a $400 win for one day might not seem like a lot, but if you have multiple accounts on Top Step, like 5 accounts, or let's just say even 2 accounts, and you make 400 a $400 trade, right? Risking like what? 3 minis? I mean not minis, 3 micros, 4 micros a day times, let's just say you only take 3 trades a week, right? Is $2,400 a week. And so like how do you go about your risk, would you say?
Yeah, so basically what I try to do is as of right now, I have like one account and I honestly just get small wins because consistency matters way more. Like if I take a loss, like I'm out. Like I don't take another trade because one of the biggest and best things was always trade for tomorrow. So I usually do $150 risk to make around like 250, and like those stack so fast. Like imagine like you win like 15, 10 trades in a month. Like you're making a lot of money consistently. And if
Mm-hmm.
you have more accounts, like trading is so scalable. It's crazy.
Yeah. And this is a verse in Proverbs, guys, that will literally help you guys so much. So Proverbs 13:11 says, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Someone comment that in the chat. Okay, comment that in the chat,
Right.
everyone. Write this down, guys. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. This is the blueprint right here. Is if you try to aim for big wins on a day-to-day basis, you're not trusting that if once you have an actual edge, that you're not trusting the long-term plan, trusting the long-term vision, right? Trading compounds, and so you might think that the small wins on a day-to-day basis might not seem big, but over time it will continue to increase. So the test of the test of trading is a test of stewardship. Can you steward what you have consistently day to day? Can you steward it consistently instead of, and even when it comes to like a day where you feel like you shouldn't execute or you feel like you can't execute, like have have things written down on exactly when is not to take an execution trade, when you're not supposed to trade, when you feel like you could sabotage it. Are you going to risk months of progress for one day of trying to gain wealth hastily? You know what I'm saying? Now, this is another verse that I'm going to read. And this one convicts me all the time. A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. So, what I recommend for everyone is that you have boundaries, okay? You have boundaries within your trading and within your plan. Because without boundaries, without risk parameters, the enemy and even your own flesh, your own greed, whatever it may be, can go in and remove months of progress. So it's like if you're going to protect your account, if you're going to try to preserve your capital, how do you actually create a a boundary to where you can't lose everything in one trade? Because let's be real, the reason that they give you access to all of that leverage is hoping that you do that. They want you to do that, right? Because you can only win by what? Denying yourself daily and not trying to do it in one day, but gather little by little, right? So having a plan before you trade, having a plan if you win, and having a plan what do you do whenever you lose is important. So a Sailor Ascension, right? What is that? So um number one, I hope that all of you guys took a lot of value from this. Now I created a one-on-one program with me and Coach Nikki, who have over $54,000 in verified payouts recently. Um, and it's a 4-week protocol. Okay, this is not free. This is a paid one-on-one program that me and Coach Nikki are both involved in. Um, and it requires capital. It requires you to have financial stability, and it's only limited to 5 people. So we only have capacity for 5 people, 5 traders to help. Now, if you want to become a professional trader, and like I said, I can give you all of this information, but the people inside of Sailor Ascension, me and Nikki, will literally trade with you one on one and help you do it live. So imagine, right? Instead of paying these prop firms and these brokers and paying with your own money and spending years of time learning how to implement it, imagine having a professional trader, me and Nikki, not only professional traders, but professional traders who don't only want to help you get great at trading and okay, cool, you make money, but develop you as a man of God, to give you a group of men of God who want you to actually develop into being a disciplined man, being a disciplined woman of God. Okay? We are going to trade live with you. So inside of the community, we trade live every day, but for Sailor Ascension, we trade with the Sailor Ascension people one on one. So, like, imagine tomorrow or on Monday, you're on a call with Nikki or with myself, and it's just us, and we're trading with you guys. Okay? That is exactly what Sailor Ascension is instead of paying with your own money, instead of paying with your own failures and experience, everything that we've gone through, and I have 7 years of experience, Nikki has 2 or 3, we give that to you and we implement that to you. Now, like I said, this is for people who want to be a professional, okay? If you want to be a professional trader, you have to show up every day. You know what I'm saying? You got to show up every day. And yes, we're going to help you. Yes, we're going to execute live with you. Yes, we're going to spend 4 weeks of, number one, developing a plan, a pre-trading plan, a post-trading plan, going over the 3 delivery strategy workshops, everything you look for specifically. But even if you have the information, learning how to overcome the generational patterns of being impulsive, A lot of you guys don't trade. You have an addiction to gambling, and that needs to be broken. And that can only be broken by putting yourself in an environment around other people who will hold you accountable. So if and you have access to live trading, the Discord for free. I mean, not for free. You have access to the live trading every single day with the community of other believers as well, for life. So it's not a subscription, it's a one-time thing. Um, and you have access to live trading for life. So one-on-ones for 4 weeks. We go through the 4 weeks, live trading with us one-on-one, the complete strategy workshop, going over the complete psychology workshop, having a professional trading mindset, going over pleasure and dopamine brain patterns, winning the morning, building an actual plan where you have written down, you're not guessing, but this is developed by statistics, by data, and then giving you the AI. So we all of our one-on-one Ascension clients get access to the Sala System AI that I have developed myself. That also has a journal alongside it. So that is the Sala Ascension. Now I'm going to drop a link in here down below. And honestly, like, me and Nikki, we've been trading for a long time, right? We're going to literally help you execute hands on and go over strategy and psychology. Um, but the return on investment, right? It's an investment of 4K for Sala Ascension. So the 4K investment is for the people who want to take action on this today and who are serious about this. Um, but the ROI is having a skill set, saving time, and saving hundreds of thousands of dollars of trying to do it on your own. And we trade live every day. So the first step moving forward after that for the people who do get started, and let me remind you that we can only work with 5 traders, right? Because we're so hands-on, only 5 people will get accepted into Sala Ascension. Um, but yeah, go ahead and apply, and then we'll jump straight into it for the people who will take advantage of this. So imagine if you're making payouts by the end of the 4 weeks, like, you can be making 4K a day. That's not impossible, right? So that's where we're going to take these people who are serious and who apply to. But this was great. I'm so grateful for all of you guys being here, and I hope that this taught you guys something. Now, go ahead and ask any questions, and I'm gonna be answering questions for the next like few minutes, um, while you guys go and apply. So it's going to fill up fast. There's only five max people capacity, so